You are listening to the Life Coach School podcast with Brooke Castillo, episode number 307.
Welcome to the Life Coach School podcast, where it's all about real clients, real problems, and real coaching. And now, your host, Master Coach Instructor, Brooke Castillo.
Well, hello, my friends. I'm so happy that you're here today. I have two main things. The first thing, business workshop enrollment is open. It is called How to Be Interesting, and you must come, especially if you're boring. It's on March 13th. It's in Plano. I'm going to be teaching why it's so important to be interesting when you're in a business and how much we are competing with so many other things in the world for people's attention and how to get that attention so you can help and do the work that you want to do in the world. So you can find out more about that by going to thelifecoachschool.com and clicking on the banner at the top. You'll find out more information. It's a one-day event. It's open to the public. Anyone can come and learn how to be more interesting. I can't wait to see you there. Okay, the second thing that I want to tell you about is that today I've invited 5 amazing coaches who have all made 100K in their business within 1 year. I should specify that. A lot of people claim to make 100K, but that was like over 10 years or something. It's always, when my coaches are talking about their revenue, we're always talking within a 1 year, 12-month period. So I've invited them all on to talk about making 100K and to share inspiration with you. And those of you who want to make 100K in your business, those of you who are struggling with it, maybe thinking it's impossible, I want them to inspire you. So I'm going to start with Diana Murphy, who has made 100K in her business. And what's super fun about this podcast is that we just recorded for like 15 minutes, but we weren't. I shouldn't say we recorded. We talked for 15 minutes, but we weren't recording. So now we're going for round 2, and let's see how you do. Do you remember what you said? Or is it going to be even better this time? Tell us, Diana. Tell us how you made 100K in your business and what you went through to get there.
All right. So I hit my first 100K in 12 months this year. I have been a coach since the week you started the podcast.
What? Oh, I didn't even know that.
That is a cool fact. So I'm always so proud to see how many weeks, how many episodes I have worked to get to this point. Is that freaking amazing?
That's so awesome. And what kind of coaching do you do?
I am a life coach for CEOs. So I help overwhelmed and very successful business owners stop worrying and
stop all the things.
All the things. Stop everything so they can just make money and love their lives.
I can't imagine coaching CEOs all the time. I am a CEO and I'm a mess.
You can sign up with me, right?
I need all the coaching all the time. So good. It's like we have this whole set of things we deal with that the rest of the world doesn't. So I love that that's your niche. Okay, so obviously you've been at this a very long time. There's a lot of coaches that started when you did that gave up way long ago that weren't able to stick with it to get to the point that you are now. What can you attribute that to? Why didn't you give up?
I always knew all along I loved the craft of coaching and I just wanted to do more of it. And the only way to do more of it was to create more of it and attract more clients. And I knew that 100K meant that it would be a valuable effort for my family as well. And so I was not willing. There's times when I was really thinking, in fact, more so in the last year, which is really interesting. I was like, maybe I'll just stop this. And it was just to avoid the emotion and the misery.
Yeah. So one of the important things that I like to remind everyone who's trying to go through this process, especially brand new coaches, is that if you feel miserable, if you feel terrible, if you're struggling, if you're full of self-doubt, you're doing it right. The only difference is most people give up at that point. Most people get to the point where it starts to get hard, where they have to overcome all of that discomfort and they give up. And that's why most people in the world will never see their dreams come true. So what would you say to all of our coaches who are at the place where you were for a very long time, who are thinking, and see, it doesn't sound like, well, you're a failure, you should quit, right? That's not what it sounds like. It sounds like, well, there's other things you could be doing and there's that other job opportunity and you could always go back to pharmaceutical sales or it sounds logical, that quit voice. What kept you from, what you said was that you loved the craft of coaching and you loved sticking through it. Is there anything else that you would offer to other coaches going through this to help them not give into that voice?
Yeah, I think that it's just watch what you're making those negative emotions mean. Be very careful that you are not judging yourself for even being in the misery. And that the more that I saw coaches share more vulnerably and I got to hear more stories, I understood that my situation wasn't unique.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, okay, I can handle this. I'll get through this.
Yeah, that's so good. Because it's like, if you're miserable, you start thinking, oh, I'm doing it wrong. It's easier for other people. Other people aren't having the same struggle. And so I think it's super important for us to talk about the struggle that we go through so people know, no, that means you're doing it right.
I also represent to many people as very successful because I'm so high energy. So I think then there could have been that disparity. Everybody sees me when I network, when I coach, as being, oh, she's amazing because I bring that energy. And so that also was a little bit of like, ooh, I had to come in alignment with that.
Yeah.
And really understand that it's okay that behind the scenes and then sharing more vulnerably that those things were going on was actually just part of the whole thing and was actually of value to people in my audience.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the points that we really need to make is I think a lot of times we look at other people and we think, oh, they're cut out for this. They're coaching material. They're 100K material and I'm not. So I need to be more like them and try to be more like them and less like myself. And of course that doesn't work. And when you step into who you really are and start telling the truth about who you really are, that's when you can really evolve into that version of yourself that can make 100K and way beyond that. You can make so much more money than you ever dreamt possible. So I love that. Okay. So let's move on to you, Sunny. Tell us your story and how long it took you to make 100K and all of the things. Tell us all of your secrets.
Oh my goodness, Brooke. Okay, this is so exciting. First of all, such an honor to be on the podcast. Like your podcast literally changed the way I see everything. And I never, ever would have guessed that I would be on it. So such an honor.
Fun. Kind of like a full circle moment.
Yes. I mean, I never even put this in my R line. That's how much I never imagined that it would come to fruition. But kind of briefly, I found your podcast when I really needed it. I had just been in a bike accident in Tahiti. I broke both my arms, my face. I couldn't stand, couldn't eat, couldn't walk, couldn't do anything. And there's this.
You broke your face?
Yeah. I went over the handlebars on a bicycle. My face is all smashed in. It's full of metal. It looks beautiful and normal now. You'd never know.
Oh my goodness.
But I couldn't eat. I couldn't talk much. I couldn't do anything. And I couldn't, watch TV, hold a book, but I was going to be off work for the first time and slow and doing nothing for the first time ever. And I didn't know what a podcast was. I knew my med students listened to them like for lectures and stopped coming to class. But that's all I knew was for the young people. I'd never listened. And so there's this group, Physician Moms group, that a lot of us female physicians belong to. And people had said in there, what are some good podcasts? And people said Brooke Castillo, the Life Coach School, and Katrina Ubell. So I was like, okay, I have no arms. Could someone press play? And download the Life Coach School. And I was arguing with reality. If I'd only not gotten on that bike, over and over and over. And so I just laid there literally for weeks, and then it became months where I listened to over 200 of your podcast episodes. Oh my
gosh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I came out the other side and eventually was able to start using my hands a little bit and eventually get back to driving and working. And I was like a changed person. I didn't see anything the same anymore. Wow. And then after I listened to all of yours, then I listened to Katrina's and I'm like, this isn't crazy. I started telling my husband, I'm like, this isn't woo-woo. It's not like out there. It's not like law of attraction. It's not manifestation. There's a doctor doing this. This works. So by the time that you offered up Coach Enrollment, I was already creating like all these things that I couldn't believe I was able to create in my life because you told me I could put anything I want in the R line.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's do this. And so by the time I got to your coach training, like 100K was a given. You know, I remember we were there in person and people were like, well, what do you think? And I had my coach partner, right? You know, we had our little coach group and they were like, well, what do you think? Do you think you'll make 100K? Do you think you'll be on stage? I'm like, of course. Like, why wouldn't I? I mean, this is ridiculous. If you can put anything you want there, why wouldn't
you put 100K?
Yeah, and I'm a physician. I earn six figures. I'm not going to not earn six figures. Why would I, you know what I mean? I'm taking this to another level. I need to be an example of what is possible, right?
Right. So I just want to explain to them, like when she says, I want to be on stage, when all of our coaches come once a year to Mastermind, if you've made 100K, you get an award and you stand on stage. So that's what she's visualizing in her training. So did it take you a year?
Oh, no. Within a few months.
You already made 100K within a few months.
Yeah, right. I mean, I was certified last September and I just like hit the ground running. I'm like, do what Brooke says. This works. Like, do what she said.
Fastest. That might be the fastest we've had. It
was a few months for sure. I can show you my Stripe account. And I coached me when I was at 80,000 and I was like, what do I do, Brooke? Like I did this and it's not working. You're like, oh, imagine that. Imagine it was working and now it's not working and you still have some more spots to fill.
Exactly.
And then you just told me to figure it out. And I did because I believed I could. And it just keeps getting better and better. And the whole rest of the year, not even because for us as physicians, it's not really about the money, right? Because we can earn six figures in other ways.
Right.
It's about who you become. And it's about what you believe you can create. And it's really buying into that you get to choose what this life is about and what you're going to do and what you want to make of it. And we've all been trained in medicine, for instance, that you sacrifice yourselves for others, right? And that you put everyone else's needs above your own and you delay gratification. And there's this arrival fallacy that we all have.
Oh, yeah.
And you talk a lot about that. You know, it'll be better there. It'll be better there. It'll be better there. But we keep doing that. And then by the time you get to around my age in my 40s, this is the peak of burnout where people are like, I was sold a bill of goods. Like I was supposed to be happy.
Let me clarify something. So you were a practicing physician. Are you still practicing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're doing coaching on the side?
Yes.
Okay. So you're doing them both. I think that's really important for us to bring up because I think people think, oh, she's making 100K as a physician. No, that's just fun. It's just latte money.
I have a separate business that is called Empowering Women Physicians.
Yes.
And that is a multiple six-figure business.
Okay. And that's in addition to being a physician.
Correct.
Yeah. So here's what I want. I think you're such a great example of this, and I'd like to talk about it a little bit. A lot of people are afraid to sign up for coach training because they think, okay, if I sign up for coach training, I'll have to quit my full-time job in order to become a coach. So how have you been able to balance it? And not just balance them, but kill it on both of them really well?
Yeah, that's a good question. This year has been a very interesting year of transition and priorities and attention. And I mean, my husband, bless his heart, will tell you like, you know, something has to give. And so I think going from 2019 was incredibly wonderful, successful, amazing, blow my own mind. Got to meet the Dalai Lama, like I started a podcast, started this amazing physician group on Facebook that's really supporting each other. And then now that I'm into 2020, I have to think, okay, now I have to be more purposeful about everything in its place and where am I going to choose to spend my time and where can I have the most impact? And so that's the transition that I'm going through right now.
Yeah. But here's what's beautiful about your example and can be inspiring. Like those of you who work full time can do this on the side. And I want you to think this is really important for you to consider. Physicians are the most stressed out people because their careers are so demanding. So if you can be a doctor in the world with that amount of stress and have a life coach business, anybody can do this. I'm telling you. And it's not because she's superhuman. Obviously, she's smart and motivated, but she was smart and motivated before. Understanding how your brain works and understanding how to utilize that R line in the model is the secret to creating whatever you want in your life. So what would be your advice to brand new baby coaches who are like, no, it's too hard. I can't.
I mean, honestly, it's starting to believe that it's possible. You know, it's possible that you teach us these things, right? It's literally just internalizing your teachings, which is like, it's possible that maybe I could do this. And then it becomes, I can do this. And then it's
I like
I'm doing this.
Maybe in there. Try
yeah.
Because it could be possible.
You have to buy into it. Yeah. And you're like, if she can do it, I can do it. Of course I can do this.
Yes. Love it. Awesome. I love your story. I hadn't heard the first part of it. That's great. So maybe the secret is you just need to lay down.
Yes. And listen to 200 in a row.
200 in a row. That's awesome. Yes. All right, Angela, what do you have for us? Tell us about you and your story.
Well, thank you so much, Brooke. This is a full circle moment for me too. I started listening to the podcast exactly 2 years ago, and I did it all wrong. Like, I quit my job, my corporate job.
That's not wrong. Lots of people do that.
So I was super stressed. I'm like, the answer to my stress so I can do it all and manage my 3 kids and be with my family is to quit my job.
Right.
And I'll figure it out. Right. So I quit my job, had no idea what I was doing, trying to make this online thing work before I was a coach or anything. And somebody recommended the podcast because I was embarrassed about saying, well, I'm not making money, but I don't want to say I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Interesting.
I had this feeling. She's like, my friend Allison said, there's this podcast called The Life Coach School, and they talk about your feelings. I'm like, feelings? No idea. Listen
You're like,
to the
what are those?
Podcast. I'm like, okay, so I can just feel my feelings. What the heck? And that just opened up everything. I joined Scholars right away, and the rest is history. I created my own podcast called Lessons on Self-Coaching, where I documented every week what I learned in Scholars. And that was even before I decided I would become a coach. I just was open to the whole process. But then I decided, because I changed my life, I lost a shit ton of weight, I stopped over drinking, that I would become a certified coach. So anyway, I joined the last in-person coaching program, which was amazing. And so I graduated in December of 2018. And since then I've made, since I graduated, $155,000 my first full year of being a coach.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's pretty exceptional. You came from corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Like, a lot of people don't make that much in their first year. What would you attribute that to?
Well, like Diana and Sunny said, I just did what you told me to do.
But that's not easy. I mean, that you make it sound like that's easy to do. Like, I tell a lot of people to do a lot of things, but it sounds easy in theory, but then you go to do it. That's not easy. Yeah. Yeah.
It would definitely, I kind of compare it to childbirth. I think about, oh my gosh, that wasn't that bad after I have the child, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
You kind of forget the misery that you go through once you hit your goals and things like that. But it was really hard. And I had to get over a lot of my fears about spending money and investing into my business and doing Facebook ads and all of that stuff, not knowing what would be the result of that. And so I had to learn how to be with fear and use that emotion as fuel for me to keep moving forward instead of fighting it or resisting it or avoiding doing the things that I wanted to do.
That's so good. I love the example of childbirth. We know it's going to be hard and we know it's going to hurt, but we do it anyway. That's what it's like building a business, y'all.
Yes.
You know it's going to be hard and you know it's going to hurt. You just keep going, because why is it hard and why does it hurt? Is you are literally birthing a new version of yourself is what you're doing. You're having to give up all the negative things that you've been thinking that are very familiar and comfortable, and literally replacing them with a new identity, a new way of thinking about yourself. So tell me about the coaching that you're doing now. What's your plan for this year?
So my plan for this year is I just transitioned from private one-on-one coaching. I coach women to stop over drinking to small group coaching format. So I launched that. I sort of pre-launched it to my current customers in my list in December. And so now I'm actively enrolling new people into this small group coaching program. So that's my plan for 2020.
Which I think is brilliant, actually, because I think I've done a lot of over drinking coaching, and I think doing it in a group is so much more powerful, because when you're over drinking, you feel so alone and so much shame, and you feel like you're a unique unicorn. And then you get in with a group of people and you're like, oh, we're all going through this together. So I love that you're with groups. Okay. So if someone's over drinking, how can they hire you?
Well, they can go to my website, angelamacenik.com. They can also go to my podcast, Stop Over Drinking and Start Living. And I have a weekly podcast episode there that they can get all that information and how to sign up with me.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. Let's move on to you, Dave. We love having a dude represent.
Yeah.
Tell us.
So first of all, I did nothing you told me to do, and it was horrible. so, so everyone who's like, hey, I just did what Brooke said. So I'm the exact opposite.
Yes.
I spent
You're
2 years
rebellious.
Yeah, I spent 2 years trying to prove you wrong and saying, no, this is not possible. There are unicorns in the world, I promise. And so
That's hilarious.
Horribly painful. And I gave up a number of times and I changed my niche. I joked that I'm a nicheaholic. I went through every niche. I think I've coached every person on everything in the world. But then I found my stride and I turned it all around with the simple format of understanding purpose is everything. Why is everything. If I could have heard episode 289, the hard why that you did, I think that's a secret sauce. If anyone wants to go back and find, I think the gold for making 100K, it's the hard why, because I found it earlier, but the purpose plus passion equaled profit for me. So when I found the purpose, that purpose could carry me through anything that would come up, any discomfort, any challenge, any obstacle, and I would just keep going until I hit it.
What was your purpose?
My hard why was to be the first. So you talk about getting on stage, right? Yeah. My hard why was I want to be the first guy on stage with the 100K award. And so when you introduce that award, my first thought was, I'm never going to get that award. Watch. And then there was a day when it changed and I believed, oh, wait, I can get that award. I just have to want to get it and not want to resist it. So instead of resisting the award, I allowed the award. I allowed the vision of it happening. I allowed what I would say, what I would wear, how I would look, when it would be, all of this. And then the only thing that stood between me and 100K was time.
Yeah.
And it was just, okay, put in the time. It's miserable. It's not fun, but just put the time in.
Yeah. Isn't that so? We're like, come on, everyone make 100K. It's miserable. It's terrible. And it takes a long time. Let's go. Although if you're sunny, it doesn't take a long time. But here's what I want to say. And this is what I said right when I got on the phone with these guys is I said, listen, your first 100K, first of all, I think your first 1,000 is like a huge step. I mean, that's a huge, painful step. But your first 100K, you've gone through it and you've gone through it for an extended period of time. And I think everything after 100K is easier. Have you found that to be or no?
Yes. So, well, yes and no. So they're just different problems. The same number of problems exist.
Yes.
And they're just as difficult to get through. The difference is you can look back and say, hey, I've been through 10 problems before at once. I handled it. I made the money. This is just another set of 10 problems I need to get through. So to go to 100K and then go to 500K, it's just that same set of 10 problems, just on a different level.
Yeah, that's so good because you have at least a little bit of foundation. You know that you can get through it. You know it's supposed to hurt. Yeah. That's just evidence, so what's your next goal? 500?
Evidence. Sorry, my next goal. So I made in 2018, I made $12,000, which was like nothing. It was cute. And then in 2019, I cleared 220,000 just in the last year.
Okay, wait, let's just talk about that for a minute, y'all. Yeah. Okay. So there's someone listening that made $12,000 last year.
Yeah.
And they're like, I haven't even scratched the surface. There's no way I'm ever going to be able to make 100K. Right? But that was you. And then that next year, you made in excess of 200K.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys hear that? Listen up. How is that even possible?
So I took my eyes off the dollars. I stopped watching the dollars and just put in the work.
Nice.
And before you know it, you start looking at your financials and you're like, whoa, what just happened? And I just had that moment 2 weeks ago when I was looking at my year end for 2019 and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm where? And then I just forecasted 2020 and I'm like, are you serious? Like already booked business. This is where I'm going to be at with cash collected. And you got to stop looking at the dollars because they hold you back from doing the work. There's nothing that serves you about looking at 12K.
Well, and not looking at the dollars in the moment, right? I think that's a really good point. Focusing on where you want to go and then getting to work, right? Instead of focusing on how much money you don't have, it's like, I just need to go ask the next person, do the next thing. So I interrupted you on what your goal is.
So my goal this year is to get up to 500.
Oh, 500K this year.
Yeah, 500.
Nice.
So I'm already booked around the 440 mark. I've probably done, in the 30 days since the beginning of the year, I've almost hit 40% of that revenue.
Beautiful.
Cash collected, which is crazy. So it's, again, to me now it's a cute goal, but I'm stopping looking at the money and I'm just going to keep going.
And are you having fun?
I'm having a blast. But the difference is I like challenge now. I like the problems because I know I know you're the currency to get the goal.
Yeah.
The currency to the goal is not, just show up. It's more than that. It's deal with the mountains, climb them, overcome them, and just hit them head on, because the money's there. It's in someone else's pocket. You just need to go through the challenge to get it in your pocket. That's all.
That's so true. And there's so much money everywhere. This is the way I like to think about it, you guys. You have to think about money this way. There is so many piles of money just sitting around. It's not like if you go and get yours, you're taking it away from someone. It's just going to sit there if you don't get it, if you don't use it. And this is kind of how I feel about money. We got to get more money in the hands of the good guys. And we're the good guys, right? So the more money you get, the happier the whole world is going to be. So tell them who you coach.
So I am the badass business coach for entrepreneurs, and I strictly work with entrepreneurs want success. What they need is to get organized. And so I run a program called Organized Success that I actually walk them through the exact structure, focus, and accountability it takes to build a business and grow it by 6 figures in less than 1 year.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Genius. Awesome. And they can find you at your website, which is?
DaveMoreno.ca, or they can go check out the Entrepreneurs Only podcast, where I have a weekly episode that hits everything they need to know to do what we're doing.
Awesome. And obviously these people like podcasts, so
they do.
Check them out there. Awesome. Thank you so much. What you got, Maggie?
Hello, Brooke. I am so excited.
Yay! Me too.
I am from the class of 2012.
It's so awesome.
And I want to be the voice for people that hopefully they remember that it's never too late to follow your dreams. It's never too late.
So true.
Do
so awesome.
The best time was yesterday. The next best time is right now.
So good. So good. And I think that's a good message to anyone. I think a lot of people now see, I feel like, tell me what you think about this, just as kind of a side note. You've been with me for a long time.
Since before the podcast.
The pace of success has accelerated. Am I wrong?
Yes.
It's unbelievable. You have someone like Sunny, you have people coming in brand new in their first year making $100K. Like the energy of the coaching industry and the belief system and the examples of what is possible, the momentum is kicking. And this is what I just said. I said, listen, we're all going. We're just a little bit ahead of the curve. You better hurry up, right? That's how I feel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have to say, part of the reason that I made $100K was being coached.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
good point.
Being coached. So important.
Yes.
So it started with self-coaching scholars.
Okay.
Impossible goal.
Yes.
How do I make my goal inevitable? Right.
Yes.
And then I thought, of course, it's my own self-coaching, and what container will help me grow as a coach and as a professional. And then the beautiful Stacey Bayman.
Yes.
And my coach.
We love her. We bow to her.
We love her very much. And so, but it's asking yourself those questions that lead you to the massive action. It's like, because I was sitting answering my self-coaching scholars homework,
right?
I'm sitting here today.
Yes. Oh my God. I love that you say that. I swear to y'all, I didn't pay her to say that, but it's so true. People want to sit down with me. It's so funny. I go into these masterminds with all these really successful dudes, and they're like, okay, so tell me exactly what you do every day to make this happen. I'm like, I do a thing called the model. And they're like, oh, is that a way of running Facebook ads? Is that a way of like managing your people? I'm like, no, it's just emptying out my brain onto the paper and coaching myself. That truly is it. And just staying committed to doing that. Love it.
Yes. And I also think it's so important for people that are listening to know that you can go at your own pace. And I like to think of myself as the turtle who became the Ferrari.
That's awesome. So say more about that.
Okay. So I took the coaching training and I stayed in HR. And I used the coaching training to get promoted, to get a new job, to get paid more. Like I applied all the tools to what I was already doing, and they helped me massively. And then that's why for a while I just did that. And then I decided, if I don't follow my dreams now, when am I going to follow them? And then I decided to really pursue coaching full time, like 3 years ago.
Yeah. So tell us who you coach.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. I help smart women have better marriages. And I coach individuals. So I help one person change a marriage.
Love that so much. It only takes one sane person in a relationship.
It really does.
I think we all know who that is in my relationship. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting just as a side note. You really can change a relationship by just helping one person. That is so phenomenal.
It is amazing. And the progress that I see is so powerful and so beautiful. And what often happens is when one person changes, the other person reacts to that change.
Yes.
And here's what I want every single person who's listening to hear. We are not all married to jerks.
No, I just am. That's what they'll say. I just am.
Right.
Someone said to me, they said, I could be in a good relationship and I could be happy all the time if I was married to Brooke's husband too.
Yeah. Yeah. And my husband is a sweetie pie. And so I get that sometimes too.
Yeah.
But the truth is when we change how we're showing up, everything in our relationship changes.
Yes.
100%.
That's so good. So what made the difference for you in your business? What brought you to the point? You said you got coaching. Was there anything specific that someone could maybe grab onto and start practicing themselves?
Yes, there's so many things. First of all, I used to have massive goal fear. I would not set a goal because I had fear that I wouldn't make the goal.
Yes, that's a big one, actually. I think a lot of people do that. They're like, I won't set a goal and then I can't fail at it, which
that was me.
Which I have to remind everybody, that's just failing ahead of time.
Yes. So I had that.
Yeah.
And a very simple thing was I started setting goals and either meeting them or not, but not dying.
And you didn't die when you failed. You're like, oh my gosh, I set a goal, I didn't hit it, and I'm not dead.
And then I got to experience the opposite of that, which is my goal all of last year was 100K.
Okay.
And I finished the year at 136K.
Oh my gosh. Congrats. That's so exciting. And you're like, wait, maybe
I could set this goal thing and it would be okay if I miss the goal and I make more. That's fine too.
Now, let me ask you, what is your goal for this year and how do you feel about it?
Okay. My goal for this year is 200,000.
Okay. And do you feel sick to your stomach a little bit?
I feel a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm going through a process of growth in my business. I'm launching my podcast.
Nice.
Pretty exciting. Mm-hmm. And I'm growing in the way that I operate my business.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to process with that.
Yeah. That's so good. And all of my coaches who are making over $1 million, whenever we set goals, I'm like, you feel a little bit nauseous? And if they don't, I'd make the goal a little bigger because I feel like your goal should make you a little bit nauseous. And I love what you said because people will say, well, I don't want to set that goal because what if I don't hit it? You just have to answer the question.
Yes.
Everyone, what if you don't hit it? I mean, I tell everyone my goals out loud all the time. It's not like that you guys are all going to come after me if I don't hit my goals and like pin me down, right? But the chance of me making them is so much harder when I make that pronouncement and I talk about it all the time and I talk about it like already being done.
I love that. I love that. And that's another thing that helped me a lot all of last year was taking action in my business from the place of already being that person, in my case, a 100K coach. How would I handle this situation? How would I reply to this email? What am I sharing? What am I talking about in my business? From that place, that was super powerful.
From the future. I think that that's kind of a skill set that you have to train your brain to do is if I'm already here, because every time you put yourself in that place of being already there, you start becoming that person, literally.
Yes. Yeah. So and good. I would say my last favorite thing that I did that I think someone could really listen to and apply it immediately is where do I already have this skill? So a lot of the people listening to this podcast are highly functioning, professional, successful people that know how to be organized, that know how to reach a goal, that know how to do a lot of the elements that go into entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And we think we don't. We think we start at zero, but we don't. We start where we left off.
Yes. That's so good. Or I just had someone today on a scholars call say to me, well, I think what I'll do is go back to my pharmaceutical job and make some more money to pay off my debt. And then I'll come back to coaching. And I said, well, why are you feeling so certain about your pharmaceutical job? And she goes, well, I'm just really good at sales. And I was like, palm to my forehead. I'm like, if you're really good at sales, why don't you sell for yourself instead of a pharmaceutical company? And it was so interesting just to see her face like, oh, interesting point. Like she didn't see that skill set was transferable when it's of course so obvious to someone on the outside. So I love that. I think that's awesome. So Listen, I am so happy that you guys all came on and that you're sharing your story. And I'm so glad that you told us the truth about how awful and horrible it is. But I think that when you achieve a goal like making $100,000, now listen, there's making $100,000 getting hired for a job where someone pays you $100,000. And then there's beating the pavement and building a business and doing something that you love in the world and asking people that you care the most about and love the most to pay you money. That's what I do all the time. You guys are my people and I ask you to pay me money all the time. And I've gotten to the point where I know if you pay me money, your life's going to change. And when you can start thinking about your money that way, like I'm so happy Maggie gave me money. And she's so happy she gave me money. And we're just delighted that there was money exchanged here because her life is so much better. My life is better because of it. And that's what your life can be when you're doing, like what Dave was saying, when you find the purpose of something that you want to do and you have so much passion behind it, that's when the money comes. Yeah. So we have hundreds of people that have made 100K through the Life Coach School this past year, and they will all be on stage. And my hat is off to each of you who have done that, because there's no way you get out of that without struggling. There's no way you get through that without looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, okay, I know you want to quit, but let's go. Anyone have any final words they want to say? Did anything come up while you guys were listening? Just raise your hand at me. Nope. Everything's been said. We're done. We've completed it. So here's what I want you to think about. Those of you who haven't made 100K, I want you to imagine yourself on my next version of this podcast. If you go back to the last version of this podcast that I did and you look at all those people where they are now, that will blow your mind. So some of you are wanting to be on this podcast now, and I want you all who are on it right now, we're going to come back when we're at 1 million. Okay. And we'll do the same one and we'll talk about what it's like to make $1 million. All right, my friends. Thanks, everybody. I will talk to you next week. And don't forget to go sign up for How to Be Interesting, our business workshop on March 13th. Talk soon. Bye. Hey, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, you have to come check out Self-Coaching Scholars. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and we apply it. We take it to the next level and we study it. Join me over at thelifecoachschool.com/join. Make sure you type in the lifecoachschool.com/join. I'd love to have you join me in Self-Coaching Scholars. See you there.